Hi everyone, I'm Lucy Macdonald, physiotherapist, and at the moment I am seeing a few patients who are starting to show signs of breathing problems. I'm seeing obviously all my patients at the moment from home by video consultation, and as we would expect, people are starting to have the symptoms of coronavirus. So as we all know, breathing difficulties and a persistent cough. So I thought it might be useful for those of you who do fall into that category, and any friends or family that you know who are struggling with breathing issues, to make a little video so that you can share it with them and it can be of help. I always find it quite amazing how little we generally are taught about breathing, which is obviously a pretty fundamental part of being human. So we need to understand how we can do it best in order to make sure that we are staying as healthy as possible. Even if you don't have symptoms, it's a really good idea to try and practice some of these, so that if when you do have any symptoms, then you're well prepared. Also, the physiological benefits are really significant irrespective of whether you have any breathing problems. So good for everyone to start practicing these now, and I'll talk a bit more about the general health benefits a bit later. So first things first, how do we want to be trying to breathe? So our lungs, a bit of physiology first of all, our lungs start way up in the top of our backs here and fill our entire rib cage all the way down to the back. So if you reach your arms round to the back and feel where your ribs finish, so that's where, all the way around to where your ribs are. And your entire rib cage, if you can kind of feel those bones of your ribs, your entire rib cage is filled with lungs, except for a few handy structures like your heart. So apart from that, it's all lung tissue. Now, because of gravity, there's actually more blood vessels at the bottom of the lungs around here. So you really want to try and get the air down to the bottom of your lungs to get optimal gas exchange. The more air you get around there, the more carbon dioxide we get pumped out of the body, and the more oxygen comes into the body. Now, here's a really key component of breathing. You need to try and focus on your exhalation. That's breathing out. The reason being is that inhalation is a reflex. So if you think about breathing out, 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 eventually your body's reflexes will kick in and you will start to breathe in as an automatic reaction. Okay. However, breathing out is not. And therefore, what can happen if you try and focus on breathing in too much, you can end up filling your lungs up so there's no space for more oxygen to get in, and that's where hyperventilation happens. So you keep trying to get more and more air into your lungs, and actually what happens is, because there's no space for the oxygenated air to go, you end up just getting a whole your lungs just full of carbon dioxide, which doesn't do you any favours at all. So what you need to do is to focus on that exhalation, that breathing out. So if you start by putting one hand over your diaphragm. Now your diaphragm, if I put my other hand, or if I put my finger on my belly button, you can see it there. So that's my belly, then one hand up from there, here's my sternum, and my diaphragm sits, basically if my rib cage is like that, my diaphragm sits there. So if you can try and, first of all, breathe from your diaphragm, what that does is your diaphragm draws the air into the bottom of your lungs. But, as I've already mentioned, you want to start with an exhalation. So if you start now, just breathing gently out. However fast your breathing is at the moment, just try and increase the time spent breathing out, even if it's by a millisecond. Just purely thinking about your outward breath. And you'll probably notice that slowly but surely, as your focus changes from your inward breath to your outward breath, your breathing might actually slow down. And you start to be able to draw the air into the bottom part of your lungs here. So as you breathe in, that hand should move away from your body, and as you breathe out, that hand comes inwards. So as you breathe out and in, and as slowly as you can. Now, it's really important that you don't take repetitive deep breaths or you will faint. So if you are new to doing breathing exercises, it's a good idea to start doing it lying down. I point over there because this is not only my new virtual office, but it's also my bedroom. So lie on your bed and just think about breathing from your diaphragm, and try not to take really deep breaths. But at least if you're lying down and you do feel a bit faint, you're not going to go anywhere. Certainly don't do it standing or sitting. Don't want you falling off your chair. So back to that diaphragm. So just nicely focus on breathing out, out, out. Now, the lungs are kind of it's quite useful to sort of imagine them as a sort of sponge-like tissue. And if you think about a sponge and you're trying to capture as much water in that sponge as possible, I'm sure it's not difficult to envisage that if you want to try and draw more water into the sponge, you first of all got to squeeze that water out of the sponge so that you can then bring more water into it. So it's similar with the lungs. So if we think about that, if you close your eyes and you visualize the lungs all the way around the bottoms of your lungs, and you imagine they're these beautiful big spongy structures, and in order to bring more oxygenated air into those lungs, you have to squeeze, just like you would a sponge. You need to squeeze a little bit of the air out of the bottoms of your lungs. So you just visualize breathing out and try, and then increase that exhalation a little bit more to then enable your lungs to expand more. The other place that you can place your hands, depending on your size, you can either put your arms around you so that you're placing your hands at the sides of your rib cage here and here, or you can bring your hands into that position as well. And as you breathe in, you can start to think about breathing in, exhaling first, so breathing out to empty your lungs, and then obviously it's difficult talking at the same time, breathing in, but always thinking about focusing on that exhalation. So really simple stuff, just really nicely, gently practicing that gentle breathing. And what that does is it really keeps that lung tissue nice and flexible. It also is incredibly relaxing, and we know that relaxation has a direct effect on your immune system, so it's actually highly beneficial for your immune system. And also if you've got any phlegm inside your lungs, so if there's any sort of gunky stuff down at the bottom of the lungs that's getting in the way of your ability to get oxygen into your blood, then getting the air right down to the bottom of your lungs will help to shift that and enable you to cough it up. So I hope that's been helpful. Please do let me know if you would like me to do any other topics in particular. I hope you enjoyed my last video on exercising for your immune health, and I will continue to respond to whatever my patients need. And in the meantime, please drop me an email, lucymacdonaldphysio@hotmail.co.uk. And even though this has all been about breathing, I am actually a musculoskeletal physio. So if you have any pain or injuries, I am here to support you, as is the rest of my team from Octopus Clinic. So please do follow us on Facebook. It's Octopus Clinic is the page, and we look forward to supporting you over the next few months. Bye.